Larys Strong, the enigmatic spymaster, master of whisperers and lord of Harrenhal, had a troubled past and a ruthless rise to power. But what is his plan? What motivates him? And what is his end goal? Hi everyone, this is Robert. Welcome to In Deep Geek. On this channel we dive deep into George R. R. Martin's world of Ice and Fire, as well as The Lord of the Rings and The Witcher. Welcome. And this video is another collaboration with the excellent History of Westeros, and do seriously check them out. One of the original and best podcasts and YouTube channels covering A Song of Ice and Fire. There's a link in the description. Oh, and we're talking primarily about the book character here, but there will probably be spoilers for House of the Dragon. Fire and Blood describes Larys Strong this way. The enigma that is Larys Strong the Clubfoot has vexed students of history for generations, and is not one we can hope to unravel here. Where did his true loyalty lie? What was he about? He wove his way through the dance of the dragons on this side and that, vanishing and reappearing, yet somehow always surviving. How much of what he said and did was ruse and how much was real? Was he just a man who sailed with the prevailing wind, or did he know where he was bound when he set out? So may we ask, but none will answer. The last Strong keeps his secrets. And it's true from what we read that he was rather enigmatic. He was a part of the Green Council and saved Aegon II's life by spiriting him out of King's Landing when Rhaenyra took it from the Greens. But Aemond was so convinced Larys had been secretly working for Rhaenyra that he killed every member of House Strong he could find. He declared his support for Trystane Truefire during the Moon of the Three Kings, but then betrayed him to his death. He put Aegon II on the throne, then seemingly masterminded his assassination. Hardly anyone trusted him, and yet he retained a position of great power and influence to the end of his life. So what was he about? What motivated him? Larys Strong was born with a severely twisted right foot, and always needed a cane. His father and older brother were large, burly men gifted at martial pursuits. There are no obvious signs of jealousy or that they didn't get along, but given his reputed actions towards them later in life, it can't be ruled out. In the show, he claims to King Aegon that his foot was so twisted that his father blamed a woman of their household and her use of unseen powers. This is almost certainly a reference to Alice Rivers, a reminder that she is much older than she looks, but we can't be sure whether he's telling the truth there. In the context of that conversation, Larys is trying to gain Aegon's trust, and emphasising his disability to the newly disabled king was an easy way in. There's an echo, perhaps, of when in A Song of Ice and Fire, Varys tells Tyrion his own tragic backstory at the hands of a magic user, a story Varys was undoubtedly using to try to gain the trust of Tyrion. This is not the last of the comparisons between Larys and Varys. Even their names rhyme. However, this is also a good point to note how the show really emphasised Harrenhal's links to the old gods and the Weirwood network, and that is where Larys grew up. Might he use those powers in some way as a master of whisperers? Possibly on the show, though there isn't much evidence for it in the books. Anyway, Larys' exact age is unknown in book and show canon, but he was brought to court at a young age by his father, Lord Lionel Strong, who was the Master of Laws at the time, along with his older brother Sir Harwin, early in the reign of King Viserys. His first role was as one of the king's confessors, those who interrogate prisoners, while his brother Sir Harwin was named a captain in the Gold Cloaks. So, on occasion, men arrested by Sir Harwin Strong would be questioned in turn by Larys Strong about whether they'd broken laws governed by Lionel Strong. Quite the family business. And Larys seems to have done well at that, because he eventually rose to the position of Lord Confessor, in other words, the head torturer, and at some point during the reign of King Viserys I, he also became Master of Whisperers. Not that we hear much from him until the year 120, later called the Year of the Red Spring, thanks to the deaths of so many notable figures. Two of those were Lord Lionel and Sir Harwin Strong. A fire broke out in the tower in which they were sleeping at Harrenhal, or rather, a fire was started. Whereas the show makes it clear that Larys was behind it, Fire and Blood suggests a number of possible culprits, only one of whom is Larys. He's an obvious enough suggestion, given that their deaths made him Lord of Harrenhal, but nothing was ever proven, and the cause of the fire was never determined. Many were simply willing to believe the curse of Harren the Black was responsible, and mysterious fires became a new addition to Harrenhal's dark legend. For what it's worth, I tend to the view that in the books Daemon is the most likely suspect. He clearly wanted to marry Rhaenyra, and in the space of 3 short months, all 3 obstacles to that were put out of the way. Daemon's wife Laena, Rhaenyra's husband Laenor, and her lover Harwin. There's no damning evidence, but it seems very, very coincidental. And perhaps, if you'll forgive the digression, there's a case to be made for Daemon and Larys to have worked together on the Harrenhal fire. It would need someone who knew Harrenhal, after all, and Larys did benefit by becoming Lord afterwards. And if they were secret allies, that also answers one of the ongoing mysteries in Fire and Blood, for we read that, unbeknownst to King Aegon, the Hand or the Queen Dowager, he, that's Daemon, had allies at court as well, even on the Green Council. We know everyone on the Green Council. Aegon, Alicent, Otto and Criston Cole can certainly all be ruled out as possible allies of Daemon, as probably can Tywin Lannister and Jasper Wilde, who were respectively tortured and killed when Rhaenyra with Daemon took King's Landing, and Grand Maester Orwyle, who was sent to the Black Cells. Lyman Beesbury was certainly more on Team Black, but he was dead by the time we read about Daemon's ally on the Green Council, which leaves just one person, Larys Strong. So perhaps we are starting to see part of why Larys's true loyalties are so hard to pin down. He was playing both sides. Not that most of Team Green will have known that, because although we're told that he stayed quiet through the discussion that led to the decision to put Aegon II on the throne, he broke his silence to urge them all to a blood oath of brotherhood, lest there be traitors here amongst us. Surely he couldn't be a traitor if he suggested the oath, though if he was already a kinslayer and a traitor, perhaps he didn't think that breaking an oath would make all that much difference. Anyway, Larys did smuggle Aegon and his 2 remaining children out of King's Landing through secret tunnels as it fell to Rhaenyra, before returning to King's Landing to work secretly to undermine Rhaenyra's rule. Again, there's the Varys link. Varys also claims to have smuggled an Aegon out of King's Landing through secret tunnels while King's Landing fell, and has also now in the story stayed in King's Landing in secret to undermine Cersei's rule as Queen Regent, while waiting for Aegon to return to claim his throne. In truth, Larys in the books is a lot less fleshed out as a character than the show, so much more mysterious. On the show, though, we probably have seen enough to now understand some of his motivations. He makes himself useful to Alicent, then gains power over her. That weird foot scene was clarified by the actor Matthew Needham as being more about exerting power over the powerful than any particular lust for the Queen herself. And as Alicent's star falls in the show, Larys moves on to others, Otto, Aemond and Aegon, with varying degrees of success. It's clear that show Larys is all about power over the most powerful. Book Larys could well be the same, though it's harder to tell. Certainly, he seems to play every side so as to keep his own position, sinking into the shadows when the conditions get too tough, then reappearing again when he can take centre stage once more. Or perhaps not centre stage, for he never seems to push for advancement for himself. Towards the end of the war, he is betrothed to a younger daughter of Lord Baratheon, which would be a good match, but that seems more a matter of political necessity. He doesn't elsewhere seem to look for extra titles or to marry above his station in the way that, say, Littlefinger does in the main story. And probably most curiously, at the end of his life, he seems to almost give up. During the Hour of the Wolf, when questioned by Cregan Stark, he refuses to confirm or deny the charges against him, and when offered the chance to escape death by joining the Night's Watch, he says, "No, my lord, I'll be going to a warmer hell, if it please you. But I do have one last request. When I am dead, hack off my clubfoot with that great sword of yours. I have dragged it with me all through life. Let me be free of it in death, at least." This boon Lord Stark granted him. Surely a man who had managed to evade captors for so long could have escaped had he wished, or even a man so used to lies and mistruths could have accepted the offer of clemency, then broken his word and not joined the Night's Watch. No, it seems that at the last, whatever had driven Larys Strong had gone. like with Damon at Harrenhal, who agrees that he has lived too long. Before that, I think for book and show Larys, it is about power. And I think it is self-evident that he did not see his path to that power as claiming the throne for himself, or even marrying up or gaining more titles for himself. No, he saw his path to power as controlling or influencing those who do have real power. He seems to have no particular loyalty. He takes the opportunities to come to him and engineers a few others. Ultimately and simply, he wants to be on the winning side, to have a sovereign grateful to him for his foresight and unique skill set, and to keep control over the throne by overseeing his heirs. Soft power over the Iron Throne and those who sit on it. That means continuing to manipulate and groom the king, his family, and those around him, often without them realizing it, and always with half an eye on who else might be in power in the future and need an ally. We've already noted how he was probably a secret ally of Damon, and as the war developed, he also cultivated his relationship with Corlys Velaryon, probably the most respected man in the Seven Kingdoms, and surely destined to play an important part in whatever ending the war had. Finally, let's end up back with Varys, and the riddle of power he presents to Tyrion in the main story, where he asks who truly has the most power. The answer is that power resides where men believe it resides, no more and no less, a shadow on the wall, and ofttimes a very small man can cast a very large shadow. Larys's life was all about power, but in the end it was just a shadow. He saved a king's life and then later killed that same king. His impact was huge, but when charged by Cregan Stark, not one person stood to defend him. He had no army, no allies, and seemingly no friends. In those last moments, he also seemingly lost whatever had driven him before. And yet, for a long time, in one of the most tumultuous periods of Westerosi history, that crippled man cast a very large shadow indeed. If you'd like to see more videos like this, diving deep into the world of Ice and Fire, there's a playlist appearing now on the left of your screen. Or to support this channel, thank you. There's a link to my Patreon page appearing now on the right of your screen. That's all for this time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.